Hello, and welcome in my little corner of the internet. My name is Jess, and here we read all kinds of stories. Some are true stories, some fiction, and some true stories that we sometimes wish were fiction. We do them all. So if you're into intriguing, dark, and scary tales, it's time to kick back, chill, and relax. If you're new here, welcome. Stay a bit, see if you like it. We'd love to have you. Tonight's story is called The Silver Wolf Queen. Ivy has spent her entire life as an outcast, an omega with no wolf, no family, no place within the pack she calls home. For 20 years, she has endured ridicule, rejection, and the constant reminder that she is less than everyone around her. But fate has a habit of hiding its greatest secrets in the most unlikely places. When the moon goddess reveals a bond that should never have existed, Ivy's world is turned upside down. Betrayed by those she trusted and cast into a darkness from which no wolf has ever returned, she will discover that everything she believed about herself was a lie. Because some bloodlines are not meant to be forgotten, and some queens are not born. They rise. This is the story of the Silver Wolf Queen. Chapter 1. The Girl Without a Wolf. The sound of laughter drifted through the halls of the Alpha's residence long before the sun had fully risen. Servants rushed from room to room carrying baskets of flowers, silver decorations, and ceremonial robes. Warriors polished their armor until it gleamed. Cooks shouted instructions across busy kitchens while the scent of roasted meat and fresh bread filled the air. The entire Black Moon Pack was preparing for the moon ceremony, the most important night of the year. The night the moon goddess revealed fated mates. The night destinies changed. The night dreams came true. Ivy knelt on the cold stone floor of the great hall with a bucket of water and a worn cloth. She scrubbed quietly while dozens of wolves hurried around her. Not a single one offered to help. Not a single one thanked her. That wasn't unusual. As far as the Black Moon Pack was concerned, Ivy existed somewhere between a servant and a shadow. Useful when needed, ignored when she wasn't. Ivy. She looked up. An older woman stood nearby holding a basket of linens. Mara, one of the kitchen workers. One of the few people who had ever shown her kindness. You missed a spot. Ivy followed her gaze. A muddy footprint remained near the entrance. Sorry. Mara sighed. One day you're going to stop apologizing for everything. Probably not. That earned the older woman a small smile. Fair point. Mara lowered her voice. You should take a break. I'm fine. You've been working since before sunrise. I said I'm fine. Mara studied her for a moment, then her expression softened. You know they're all talking about tonight. Ivy returned her attention to the floor. I know. Most of the unmated wolves haven't slept all week. A faint smile touched Mara's lips. They're terrified. Ivy chuckled softly. The sound surprised even her. They seem excited. That's because they're hiding the terror. Mara sat beside her. For a moment neither spoke. The hall buzzed with activity around them. Eventually Mara asked the question everyone always asked. Do you think you'll find your mate? The smile immediately disappeared from Ivy's face. There it was. The question. The one she hated most. She dipped her cloth into the bucket. I don't know. Mara nodded slowly. Neither woman said what they were both thinking. Most wolves discovered their inner wolf before adulthood. Some shifted early. Some shifted late. But by 20 years old, it was practically unheard of for a wolf to remain unshifted. Yet Ivy had never transformed. Not once. No matter how many full moons she stood beneath. No matter how many prayers she whispered. No matter how badly she wanted it. Nothing happened. No wolf. No bond. No answer. Just silence. The pack had long since decided there was something wrong with her. Some believed she carried defective blood. Others believed she wasn't a real werewolf at all. A few thought the moon goddess herself had cursed her. Ivy didn't know what to believe anymore. She only knew that every year the distance between herself and everyone else seemed to grow larger. "You should still attend the ceremony," Mara said gently. Ivy laughed. A short, bitter sound. "Why?" "Because miracles happen." "Not to me." "You don't know that." "I do." Mara opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again, because there was nothing she could say. The truth was difficult to deny. Ivy had spent 20 years waiting for something to change. Nothing ever did. Finally, Mara stood. "I need to get back to the kitchens." Ivy nodded. As the older woman walked away, she paused. "Don't lose hope." Then she disappeared through the doorway. Ivy stared down at her reflection in the bucket. Hope. What an exhausting thing. Hope was dangerous. Hope whispered lies. Hope convinced you tomorrow would be different. Then tomorrow arrived looking exactly like yesterday. And the day before that. And the year before that. A loud voice echoed across the hall. "Omega." Ivy closed her eyes. There it was. The title she hated. The title she couldn't escape. She stood and turned. One of the warrior trainees approached. A handsome young wolf named Derek. The kind of handsome that made people forgive bad behavior. Unfortunately, Derek had plenty of bad behavior. "You're needed outside." Ivy picked up the bucket. "What for?" Derek smirked. "The guests have arrived." "What does that have to do with me?" His smile widened. "Someone has to carry their luggage." Several nearby wolves laughed. Ivy lowered her gaze. "Of course. The Omega. The servant. The pack mule." Derek stepped closer. "You should be grateful." "For what?" "For being useful." More laughter. Something inside Ivy tightened. Not anger. Not anymore. She had spent years being angry. Years being hurt. Eventually both emotions became exhausting. Now there was only numbness. Without responding, she picked up the bucket and walked past him. The laughter followed her all the way outside. The village square had transformed overnight. Banners bearing the Black Moon insignia hung from every building. Fresh flowers decorated doorways. Long tables stretched across the square in preparation for the feast. Visiting wolves from neighboring packs filled the streets. Children ran between market stalls. Musicians tuned their instruments. The entire settlement buzzed with excitement. For a moment, Ivy stopped and simply watched. It really was beautiful. The Black Moon Pack sat within a valley surrounded by towering mountains. Dense forests stretched across the horizon. Silver rivers wound through the landscape like ribbons beneath the morning sun. Visitors often called it one of the most beautiful territories in the region. Ivy could understand why. Despite everything, it still felt like home. A home that didn't want her, but home nonetheless. A commotion near the training grounds caught her attention. A crowd had gathered. Warriors, young women, pack elders. Everyone seemed focused on something. Or someone. Curious despite herself, Ivy moved closer. Then she saw him. Alpha Kane. Future Alpha of Black Moon. The most powerful young wolf in the territory. He stood in the center of the training field surrounded by warriors. Tall, broad-shouldered, confident. The morning sunlight caught the dark strands of his hair. Even from a distance, power radiated from him. Not arrogance. Authority. The kind that couldn't be taught. The kind wolves instinctively followed. A training match was underway. One of the strongest warriors lunged. Kane sidestepped effortlessly. The attacker crashed into the dirt. The crowd erupted into cheers. Another warrior charged, then another. Both met the same fate. Within seconds, they were flat on their backs. Kane barely looked winded. The crowd loved it. Young wolves shouted his name. Children cheered. Women smiled. Even seasoned warriors nodded in approval. The future Alpha was exactly what the pack wanted. Strong, fearless, respected. Everything Ivy wasn't. As if sensing her gaze, Kane suddenly looked toward the crowd. Toward her. Their eyes met. Only briefly. A heartbeat. Nothing more. Yet something strange happened. A flicker. A strange sensation beneath her skin. Gone before she could understand it. Kane's expression remained unreadable. Then he turned away. The moment vanished. Ivy frowned. What was that? She didn't know. By sunset, the entire valley seemed to glow. Thousands of lanterns illuminated the village streets while bonfires crackled throughout the square. Wolves from neighboring packs gathered beside Black Moon warriors, all eager to witness the sacred moon ceremony. Ivy had spent most of the day working, carrying supplies, serving food, cleaning after guests. By the time evening arrived, every muscle in her body ached. Part of her wanted to skip the ceremony altogether, but Mara refused to allow it. You are going. Mara, you are going. I'll just stand in the back. Then stand in the back. I don't belong there. Mara gently adjusted a loose strand of Ivy's hair. Tonight belongs to the moon goddess. Her eyes softened. Not the pack. An hour later, Ivy found herself standing near the rear of the gathering crowd. The ceremony took place within the circle of stones, an ancient sacred site older than the pack itself. Massive stone pillars surrounded an open clearing beneath the night sky. Moonlight poured into the center like liquid silver. Hundreds of wolves gathered around the perimeter. Everyone wore their finest clothing. Everyone looked nervous. Even the strongest warrior shifted uneasily. Finding a mate was one thing. Finding the wrong mate could change your entire life. A horn sounded. The crowd immediately fell silent. Pack elders entered first. Then the Beta. Then the Luna. Finally, Alpha Kane stepped into the circle. A wave of whispers swept through the crowd. He looked every bit the future Alpha. Confident. Powerful. Born to lead. Ivy found herself staring. Not because she admired him. At least that's what she told herself. There was simply something about him. Something difficult to explain. The elders raised their staffs. Ancient chants filled the night air. The crowd lowered their heads. Even the wind seemed to stop. The full moon hung directly overhead, brighter than Ivy had ever seen it. The lead elder lifted his arms. Moon goddess. His voice echoed across the clearing. Reveal the bonds you have chosen. Silence followed. Long, heavy, expectant. Then the moonlight changed. Gasps spread through the crowd. Silver threads appeared above the gathering. Hundreds of them. Glowing strands connecting destined hearts. Excited laughter erupted everywhere. Mates found each other. Families embraced. Tears flowed. Joy spread through the crowd. Ivy watched quietly, trying not to feel jealous. Then something impossible happened. A strange warmth spread through her chest. She froze. The sensation intensified. Like a heartbeat that wasn't her own. Around her, wolves suddenly began staring. Confused whispers followed. Ivy looked up. A single silver thread floated through the air, brighter than all the others. The glowing strand stretched across the gathering, crossing hundreds of wolves, passing warriors, passing elders, passing nobles, passing everyone, until it stopped, directly in front of her. The world seemed to freeze. No one moved. No one breathed. The thread touched her chest. A brilliant silver glow exploded around her. Ivy's eyes widened. No! The crowd erupted. Impossible. An Omega? That can't be right. Ivy barely heard them. Her attention remained fixed on the other end of the glowing bond. Slowly, almost fearfully, she followed it. The silver thread stretched across the circle, toward Alpha Kane, toward the future ruler of Black Moon, toward the most powerful wolf in the territory. Their eyes met. The answer became undeniable. The moon goddess had spoken. Alpha Kane was her mate. For one beautiful, impossible moment, Ivy forgot every insult, every cruel word, every lonely year, every rejection. She wasn't an Omega. She wasn't worthless. She wasn't forgotten. The goddess herself had chosen her. Tears filled her eyes. Not from sadness, from relief. Finally she belonged somewhere. Finally her life was changing. Finally she wasn't alone. The crowd remained stunned. Nobody knew what to say. Nobody understood. Neither did Ivy. But none of that mattered now, because for the first time in her entire life, hope no longer felt like a lie. And standing beneath the moonlight, staring at the man fate had chosen for her, Ivy smiled. The deafening silence lasted only a few seconds. Then the shouting began. Impossible. She's an Omega. The goddess made a mistake. Angry voices erupted from every direction, and Ivy's smile slowly faded, although the warmth in her chest remained. The mate bond remained intact, yet the crowd looked horrified, as if something terrible had happened. Her gaze slowly shifted toward Kane. Until now, he hadn't moved. He simply stood there and stared at her, his expression unreadable. The silver bond continued glowing between them, waiting, expecting. She watched him. One step, only one. That was all it would take. One step toward her, one acknowledgement. One sign that he accepted what fate had chosen. But instead, Kane looked away. A cold feeling settled in Ivy's stomach. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The Alpha stepped forward. I, Alpha Kane of the Black Moon Pack, reject you. The words hit harder than any blade, and the crowd fell silent. Ivy stopped breathing. For a moment, she genuinely believed she had misheard. Reject her? What? No, that wasn't possible. Surely not after the bond appeared, could it? Not after the goddess herself chose them, could it? I reject you, Ivy, as my mate. The second declaration shattered any doubt that might have been left. An unbearable pain exploded through her chest, and her breath hitched as a sharp burning agony, unlike anything she had ever experienced, filled her chest. Ivy staggered backward as gasps echoed through the crowd, and the mate bond flickered violently as cracks spread through the silver light. Tears filled her eyes. Not because of the pain, because she didn't understand. Why? She looked at Kane. What had I done? Kane finally looked at her. His expression remained cold, emotionless, detached. It's simple, he said. You are not worthy of standing beside an alpha. The words pierced deeper than the rejection itself. Murmurs spread through the crowd, then laughter. Cruel, mocking, relentless. The wolves who had always looked down on her suddenly felt justified. They weren't witnessing a tragedy. For them, this was entertainment. A little pathetic Omega being put back in her place. Ivy searched Kane's face one final time. looking for something. Regret? Sympathy? Anything? But she found nothing, and that hurt more than the rejection itself. Because the man chosen by fate wasn't merely rejecting her, he was ashamed of her. The bond shattered, and a wave of pain ripped through her body. Ivy instantly collapsed to her knees, breathing hard, her nails digging into the ground as she grinded her teeth. The crowd laughed, but no one came to help. She was alone, completely alone. Wow, guys, that's brutal. In a single night, everything she thought she wanted was placed within her reach, only to be ripped away before the entire pack. The moon goddess chose her, but then Alpha Kane rejected her, and the bond that should have changed her life became the source of her deepest wound. But the worst is still to come. In the next chapter, Ivy will face the consequences of that rejection, and a journey into the dreaded forest of no return will begin. A place whispered about in fear for generations. A place from which no wolf has ever returned. Before you go, let me know where you're listening from. I always enjoy seeing how far these stories travel and which corners of the world are joining us for the journey. Also, if you're enjoying Ivy's story, please take a moment to subscribe. It's completely free, and every subscriber helps us move closer to our next community milestone and keeps these adventures coming. Until next time, be blessed and be safe out there.